that word dead. Dead to sin.
Jose Luis de Jesus Miranda claims to be the second coming of Jesus Christ, and his followers believe every word.
This is a historic event, knowing that God is here on earth.
I am the second coming of Christ, that Messiah that they've been waiting for.
We first introduced you to de Jesus Miranda in 2006. He runs a worldwide organization, Creciendo en Gracia, or Growing in Grace, that he claims has millions of followers. He preaches a message of freedom to indulge.
His message tells us that we're perfect, that there's no sin, that there's no devil.
And also no hell.
If they call you a sinner, we feel hurt.
That message, one theology expert told us, appeals to followers.
So people think of the Christian church as being a downer, as always talking about people being sinners and so forth.
The danger, Mitchell warned, is that with such devout followers, this has signs of a cult. De Jesus Miranda wants to establish a world government with himself as leader. He's also been criticized for accepting expensive gifts from followers, including watches and cars, and living an extravagant lifestyle.
And he took all your sins away.
No one can take your sins away except Yahawah, Ba'ashem Yahawahshi. So this is a blasphemer.
Still, followers don't seem to care for a man they say cares so much for them.
It's a very positive message.
De Jesus Miranda has over 300 learning centers worldwide, including one in Houston, where he sometimes runs his organization.
Throughout the Bible, prophets, angels, and Jesus himself all promised that the Son of God would return to create heaven on earth. And throughout the ages, billions of Christians have wondered, when? But what if the second coming is here, now? There are a number of would-be messiahs who claim exactly that, and few are more physically convincing than a former Russian traffic cop named Sergei Torop. In the woods of rural Siberia, he is known as Vissarion, the teacher, and around 5,000 disciples live around him, growing their own food and feasting on his every word.
And my whole body was trembling. The trembling is not coming again. Well, it's very emotional to me.
Meanwhile, in London, David Shaler says he is the true Lord of Lords, but unlike Vissarion, no one believes him.
That doesn't bother me because I was chosen by God.
The former British intelligence agent says his body was filled with the Spirit of Jesus in 2007, a conviction which intensifies on a visit to Jerusalem.
We're in the Church Holy Sepulchre, and this behind me is supposed to be the tomb of Christ. Well, I'm Christ, I'm not in the tomb, I'm not dead yet.
But with no support, he lives in a squatter's camp outside London.
My agreement with Jesus is I don't ask for money off people. If you're the Messiah, you shouldn't be asking for money, you should have faith that God will look after you.
This is Revelations 1 and 13. And in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle. His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as flames of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters.
Prove to me that you are a son of God!
But that is not a sentiment shared by Pastor Apollo Quibeloy, the most successful of the world's self-labeled saviors.
The official coming of the Son of God was in April 13, 2005.
He was an obscure evangelist from the rural Philippines until 2005, when he announced that God had appointed him Christ on earth. His reward for a pure life, sinful thoughts, anger, lust, any of those things. You don't experience those on a daily basis?
As a human being?
Yes.
I have already overcome all of those.
This is Jeremiah 23 and 1. Woe be unto the pastors that destroy and scatter the sheep of my pasture, saith Yahawah. Therefore thus saith Yahawah, power of Israel, Against the pastors that feed my people, ye have scattered my flock, and driven them away, and have not visited them. Behold, I will visit upon you the evil of your doings, saith Yahweh.
Apocalypse in Kibeloi's message, no rapture or final judgment. Instead, he preaches that he is the model of Christianity, and as more people follow his example, God will gradually turn the earth back into the Garden of Eden.
Do you perform miracles?
For me, the greatest miracle is the changing of that spirit within.
But healing the sick, the manifestations of Jesus' powers, you're able to do that?
We have healing.
You are
healing and miracles happening.
After taking his place as the appointed son, Kibeloi's ministry has exploded. He claims to reach 6 million followers with his satellite TV network, numerous publications, private jet, and personal helicopter. All the better to avoid the bumpy road and impoverished villages that lead to the walled compound he calls the Kingdom of Jesus Christ. Here is his 5-bedroom home, surrounded by manicured gardens of imported grass.
So this is your Garden of Eden.
This is what we call the Garden of Eden restored.
This is Revelations 21:10. And he carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain, and showed me that great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from the Most High, having the glory of the Most High, and her light was like unto a stone most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear as crystal, and had a wall great and high, and had 12 gates, and at the gates 12 angels, and names written thereon, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. The 12 tribes of the children of Israel.
To them, heaven really could exist inside Kibeloi's gates, and it's why hundreds line up to carry his parasol. All the workers who toil in the grinding heat of the kingdom are volunteers, here to glorify the Father.
Do you get paid for this?
Juju tells me he gets $40 a week to feed his family. Minimum wage. And like the rest of the kingdom, he's expected to give 10% back to Kibeloi.
This may be the most beautiful spot in the Philippines, and it's paid for by people who live on $2 a day. So how do you justify your lifestyle? I mean, your watch could probably feed 100 families for a month.
If this is not God's will for me to have these things I have, you can take it away. It is God's will that we follow. If it is God's will for us to live like this, you can have a broken heart looking at me, but what can you do?
But they get their understanding of the will of God from you.
Yeah.
And this nice young man wouldn't be holding this umbrella if he didn't believe the things you say.
For us here, we see everything as a ministry. My talent is to preach. My talent is to be a leader. Not everyone can become a preacher or have been given a talent like me to go and lead the 6 million people.
Right. But Jesus, when he walked the earth, according to the Bible, lived among lepers and prostitutes.
I live among them.
You have a private jet.
I live among them. Before I had the private jet.
You're in a walled compound with mansions.
Before this, I lived among these people. Like, for example, that jet that you're talking about. Do you know that in 1983, I had a revelation of that jet? That the Lord is going to give me that.
Yeah.
It is Him who gave me that. If it is not His will, how can I afford that?
Well...
Kibeloi has been accused of kidnapping and brainwashing by the parents of at least one of his followers, but he was never charged. He insists that anyone is free to leave his flock and seal their fate for eternity.
Will they go to hell?
It's up to them. They know that. So that's your will, If you want to go to hell, no one will stop you. If you want to go to heaven, and follow this way, no one will stop you to
come work with you.
Yeah.
There are three possibilities here. You are either the Son of God, or you're delusional, or you're a very successful con man.
I respect your point of view. But I resent what you said that your followers will say, I'm a con man with a speaking ability that I've tried to con people. That is not who I am.
This is the book of Matthew 24:3. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming, and the end of the world? And Yahawahshi answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many.
I'm not trying to con people. I am speaking the truth.
Skepticism is a cross all modern messiahs must bear. In Siberia, Vissarion has also been accused of mind control, but there's not enough evidence to try him. And David Shaler? Well, there are fewer legal headaches for prophets without followers, but still plenty of moments to bring a so-called Son of God back to earth.
Do you think you're Jesus?
Sorry?
Are you Jesus?
I am Jesus, yes.
No, you're not.
This is Revelation 22:14. Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life, and may enter in through the gates into the city. For without are dogs, and sorcerers, and whoremongers, and murderers, and idolaters, and whosoever loveth and maketh a lie.
Jesus Christ is returned, but only this time in Brazil. For more than 30 years, this man, calling himself Henri Cristo, has preached his own gospel as the supposed reincarnation of Jesus of Nazareth, relocated to Brasilia. Born Alvaro Thais to farmers of German extraction, he made a first conversion in 1969, becoming Yuri of Nostradamus and styling himself a prophetic seer. A decade later, a vision revealed his true nature, and he changed his name from Yuri to Henri, son of God.
My Lord only revealed to me the position I occupied on earth in my past lives when he considered that it was important. I don't remember all of my previous lives.
Henri's preaching took him abroad, where he was expelled from the U.S. and a few other countries, and to prison in Brazil, where he did a stint in the 1980s for vandalizing a cathedral. Now in his 60s, he's still not averse to making a scene to get people's attention. Henri's followers use the internet and social networking tools like Facebook and Twitter to preach the good word, often to the tune of a catchy pop hit. Henri has made the rounds of Brazil's TV talk shows, but most of his time now is spent with his disciples at home, in a closed compound outside the Brazilian capital. Several hundred followers, 90% of them women, are faithful to Henri's creed, and are hard at work making their church the New Jerusalem.
Well, let's go. Time for Christmas, man.
Veselin is wearing his feast day robes.
See how beautiful it is out here.
Today, this remote corner of Siberia is celebrating Christmas. And for Veselin, along with all the other members of this sect, Christmas comes on January the 14th. Men, women and children ignore the fact that the temperature is minus 20 degrees Celsius as they eagerly present themselves for benediction. They've been promised a Christmas gift to end all others, a meeting with Jesus himself. Seated under a cedar tree, Jesus Christ in flesh and blood.
You men are all very different. Some are more advanced than others. That's why only a small elite group will lead humanity to salvation.
David Torup says his spiritual rebirth came in 1991 when he saw God. That's when he became Vissarion, known to his followers as the Teacher. With the Soviet Union crumbling, Vissarion's promises of a new life in a utopian society spread from village to village. He established his new community in a remote spot in the Siberian mountains, cut off from the modern world.
This part of Siberia, in the geophysical sense, should be spared the radical changes that are to hit the planet. We aim to start up a new society from here. This is where the foundations of our common future should be built. The creation of a united global community depends upon this.